My name is Caleb Mercer. I'm 28, and in my family, that makes me the last in line, by age, by worth, by accident. I spend my days hunched over parchment older than the country we pretend still holds a soul. Ink bleeds, paper cracks, and I bring them back. That's what I do. I fix what was meant to be forgotten. The irony? No one in my bloodline has ever looked at me like something worth preserving. The Mercers build legacies. My father, Martin, manipulates political handshakes in Capitol Hill golf clubs. My sister Abigail builds public images for billionaires who smile for cameras and shred lives in boardrooms. Me? I touch truth with gloves on and lock it in climate-controlled vaults. That alone made me dangerous. I didn't understand how dangerous until I nearly died at my sister's promotion dinner. Elise, the restaurant, was velvet-draped and disturbingly quiet. Everyone whispered with perfect teeth. The Mercer table took up a third of the private dining room. Abigail, shining in a champagne silk dress, clinked her flute against mine and grinned like a politician on victory night. To power, she said, and the people who try to read the fine print after it's too late. They laughed. I didn't. The bisque came in black porcelain bowls, rich, earthy, topped with a swirl of reddish gold oil. The waiter placed mine down with a nod. Abigail leaned closer, her tone syrupy. Chef said it's truffle and chili oil. I told him you like mild spice. Thoughtful, right? I gave her a flat look. Her smile widened. Relax, Caleb. You're always so fragile. First sip. The burn didn't hit my tongue. It hit my throat. Then my lungs. A chemical grip locked around my windpipe like a zip tie. I dropped the spoon. My vision pinched at the edges. Hands fumbled at my collar. Laughter faded into alarm. Cal? My mother's voice. Not panic. Confusion. Always disbelief. I tried to stand. Failed. Abigail rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. You've had mushrooms before. Unless you're pulling one of your drama attacks again. I collapsed into the carpet. Rich. Plush. Smelled like rosewood and wealth. Then it hit. A tidal wave of wheezing. Swelling. Burning hives across my arms. Someone screamed. A chair scraped. Magnus Thorne, CEO of Thorne Capital, vaulted over the table like a man half his age. EpiPen. Now, he barked at the frozen waitstaff. He slammed the pen into my thigh. Steel to skin. I gasped, if you could call it that. Call MedStar, he roared. Blacked out. I woke in an ER room that smelled of antiseptic and lies. 4 in my arm. Mask on my face. Nurse beside me, adjusting the vitals. Blonde hair. Sharp eyes. Calm hands. You're lucky, she said without looking at me. Anaphylaxis that fast could have shut you down for good. My throat scraped like gravel. Allergic. Shellfish, I croaked. She checked the chart. Her forehead creased. That's odd. There's no mention of any allergy in your pre-surgical paperwork. I froze. What surgery? She blinked, then flipped the clipboard. You're Caleb Mercer, DOB January 12th, 1995? I nodded slowly. She held out a printout. You were scheduled for elective surgery next Thursday. At this hospital. The file was pre-approved. Insurance verified. Pre-op labs already drawn. My mouth went dry. I didn't schedule anything. It's all here, she said. Signed and timestamped. Digital consent attached. The printout had my name. My ID number. My insurance provider. My digital signature. I stared at it. It wasn't forged. It was mine. And I had never seen it before. Blood drained from my head faster than the foredrip. Something hissed behind my ribs. Abigail had mocked me at the table like it was a joke. But someone had scheduled me for surgery before I ever collapsed. Whoever did this hadn't planned to kill me with soup. They planned to cut me open and make it look like I agreed. I didn't ask for any surgery. So who the hell did? Hospitals make people feel small. Sterile white walls. Fluorescent lights humming like bad memories. I sat up slowly, skin still burning from adrenaline crash. My arms shook. The nurse returned. Blonde. Early 30s. Calm in a way that unnerved me. "You're lucky you made it in time," she said, checking my chart again. "Your vitals are stabilizing." I didn't respond. My eyes were locked on the printout in my lap. The surgical consent form. My name, my birth date, my digital signature, all verified. I had never seen this document before. Who requested this? My voice cracked, raw. It came through the patient portal. Timestamped. And it matched all your biometric data. "Do you want to speak with someone from records?" I nodded, but she was already gone. I held the paper tighter. The ink looked fresh, like someone had just printed it to rub in my face. My fingers buzzed with something that felt like rage. No. Not rage. Precision. That sharp, cold feeling before you tear open a sealed box. My phone buzzed. A private number. I answered, instinct taking over. No sound. Just low static. Then a click. Then silence. Someone was watching. Someone wanted me to know. Cut scene. Back home, I didn't shower. I didn't eat. I sat in the dark, laptop open, hands flying across the keyboard. Every folder. Every login. Every insurance record. I cross-referenced hospital portals, encrypted messages, access logs. There it was. A login request from my account, routed through an internal network. Time, 3:12 a.m. 2 weeks ago. IP address? Masked. But the proxy server pinged back one physical location. Mercer Legal Archives. Georgetown. My family's private law archive. Only 3 people had access. Martin Mercer. Abigail Mercer. And me. Another cut. The next morning, I met Rory Finch. She looked too sharp for a hospital coffee shop. Slate blazer. Worn leather briefcase. Eyes that didn't blink too often. "You're Caleb?" I nodded. She slid into the booth. "Dahlia called me," she said. "You're a nurse." "She's my niece." "Said something about a surgical consent you didn't sign?" I pushed the papers across the table. She scanned. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. "Then, that's your biometric tag." But the submission origin was masked. Someone used your authenticated access and tunneled it through a private server. "You saying it was forged?" She looked up. "I'm saying it was authorized by someone pretending to be you. And they had access to your private health credentials, your encrypted insurance profile, and your digital signature." I stared. She didn't blink. "Only 2 types of people could do that," she said. "Someone with system-level clearance to your devices. Or someone in your family's legal infrastructure." My stomach tightened. "Your family's firm, Mercer Legal. Who runs it?" "My father," I said. "Martin Mercer. But he wouldn't." "Wouldn't?" She raised an eyebrow. "Or shouldn't?" I didn't answer. Some people win arguments just by letting silence do the talking. That night, I tried to sleep. Tried being the operative word. My chest was tight, like something invisible had crawled into my ribcage and started building a nest. I kept thinking about Abigail's smirk. "Come on, Cal. You're not that allergic. She knew. She knew the soup had shellfish. That wasn't a mistake. That was a test. Cut scene. Next morning, I walked into Mercer Legal like a ghost. Polished floors. An air so cold it burned your sinuses. Receptionist didn't even look up. I used the old keycard. Still worked. Down the corridor. Past Martin's empty office. To the third door on the right. Archives. Locked. A fingerprint scanner beeped red. I stared at the handle. Then the hallway. No cameras inside this section. That was Martin's rule. I pulled a bobby pin from my pocket. 2 clicks. Door slid open. Inside, rows of file cabinets. Temperature-controlled server racks. Confidential archives of family trusts, legal proceedings, and sealed settlements. But I wasn't looking for anything old. I logged into the local terminal. Scanned for recent access logs. One name kept flashing. Protocol, medical diversion. Attached, my name. Attached, Abigail's digital credentials. Attached, my surgical consent. I opened the metadata. It wasn't just a false surgery. It was a transfer authorization. If the surgery had happened, if I had been unfit after, it would have automatically triggered a reassignment of medical power of attorney. To Abigail. She would have had full legal control of my body, my decisions, my trust access. I stumbled back, hit the desk. The surgery wasn't just a cover-up. It was a legal hit job. Twist the consent. Fake the records. Make the patient vanish, legally. Cold wind slammed through the vent above. I froze. Footsteps. Someone was in the hallway. I shut the file. Yanked the USB. Killed the lights. Held my breath. The knob turned. Paused. Then let go. Silence. Only the whir of the server drives remained. I waited 5 more seconds. Then I ran. Rory looked up from the file, voice flat. This wasn't a prank, Cal. It was a setup. You have 10 minutes, Rory said, pulling her car into the underground lot below AMC Financial's satellite branch. Not because I don't believe you, but because if we're right, they're already watching the metadata logs. The air tasted like concrete and static. I slammed the car door and rushed toward the back elevator. Floor 12. Legal compliance and contract auditing. I stepped into the cold white corridor. No receptionist. Just a quiet hum from ceiling vents. A janitor pushed a mop past me, didn't make eye contact. His eyes twitched toward my pocket, where the USB hid. Keep moving. My fingers were slick on the keypad as I keyed in the admin code I stole from the Mercer archive. The door to the filing room clicked open. Rows of binders. Fireproof drawers. Biometric scanner built into the far corner desk. I slipped the USB in. The system word. File, Mercer POA Transfer Authority. Found. It was real. Signed. Timestamped. 2 witnesses. Trigger conditions, medical unfitness, sustained cognitive dysfunction, or postoperative dependency. Surgeon, Nolan Wyatt. Facility, AMC Surgical Wing. Consent, Caleb Mercer. I never consented. But my legal status was already coded into the trigger. If I had undergone that surgery, whatever it was, my rights would have transferred instantly. Abigail would have become my legal guardian. The contract even included restricted financial mobility protocols. That meant freezing my trust access. Terminating my historical preservation license. Deleting me, piece by piece, with digital paperwork. I printed the file. My hands shook. They didn't want to kill me. They wanted to institutionalize me. Cut scene. Back in the car, Rory didn't speak. She scanned the file under the dim dome light. Her eyes tightened. They wrote you out of your own life, she said. Legally. Clean. Almost elegant. I laughed once. Bitter. You know the joke about wolves in sheep's clothing? I asked. Mine wear tailored suits and sit on nonprofit boards. Rory tucked the folder away. This isn't about family. It's about asset liability. You became inconvenient. That makes you disposable. Her phone buzzed. One new alert. AMC's digital forensics flagged the USB insertion. They know someone accessed the file, she said. We've got about 2 hours before that data gets scrubbed, or before someone comes looking. I drove. Fast. Back roads. No streetlights. My mind was a grenade, fuse hissing. Who was Nolan Wyatt? I searched him. Board-certified surgeon. Specialized in cognitive pathway modulation, non-invasive neurotherapeutics used mostly in behavior correction facilities. Private contracts with defense departments. Classified work. No scheduled surgeries and public records for next month. Except one. Me. Listed as a neural regulatory candidate. What the hell were they planning? My phone buzzed again. Blocked caller. I let it ring. Then, voicemail. No words. Just background noise, TV static, distant hums, then faint breathing. Someone was watching. Rory dug deeper that night, her laptop cable sprawled across my kitchen like veins. She cracked the AMC document logs. Traced the POA witness signatories. One name she flagged. Victor Ames. Legal consultant. AMC compliance officer. Also, Mercer Foundation board member. Old friend of Martin Mercer. Want a twist? Rory said. Victor filed a mandatory financial disclosure report 2 days before your ER trip. Listed a projected asset reclamation. Amount, $2.7 million. That's what I'd lose if I were declared unfit, I said. Rory nodded. This was a hit, she said. Legally. Financially. Medically. Coordinated. I felt cold. Tell me the scariest thing you've ever heard in a hospital, I said. She looked at me. I answered myself, you're not the first patient they've done this to. Cut scene. I went back to the ER. Not to visit the staff. To find Dahlia. She was charting behind the main desk. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Caleb, Jesus, you look like. Don't say death, I muttered. She walked me into the break room. Closed the door. I need to know who entered my surgical file, I said. Who requested pre-op labs? Who signed for it? Dahlia paled. She reached into her backpack. Pulled out her own printed copy. Don't be mad, she said. I printed this because it didn't feel right. Your signature, something about it felt off. So I asked IT to verify it quietly. They did. She flipped the page. Attached, session recording metadata. Login location, Thorn Capital HQ. Wait, I whispered. That's Magnus Thorn's firm. The guy who injected me with the EpiPen. He's on your emergency contact, Dahlia said. I stopped breathing. Magnus. The only person who helped me at that dinner. The man who saved me. Also the man with access to encrypted data networks. PR connections. Leverage over Abigail. What if I said slowly, he saved me because he needed me alive just long enough to sign something? My hands clenched. They were closing in. And I had no idea who was running the op or how many signatures were forged in my name. Rory didn't sleep. Neither did I. By 2:11 a.m., we were parked 3 blocks from Mercer Estates, headlights off, engine ticking as it cooled. The house sat above us like a monument, brick, iron gates, cameras tucked into the ivy like quiet eyes. The kind of place that pretends it has nothing to hide because it owns the law. People don't build walls to keep others out, Rory murmured. They build them to keep things in. I nodded. My pulse counted seconds. Cut. We moved on foot. Rain started, thin, needling. The side entrance accepted my old keycard. Green light. Still authorized. That should have scared me more than a red one. Inside, the air smelled like lemon oil and old paper. Mercer Legal Archives. My father's cathedral. Temperature controlled. Sound dampened. No cameras past the first corridor, his rule. Trust family. Control everything else. We reached the server room. Rory jacked in. I stood watch, eyes on the glass reflections, counting my breath. 1, 2, 3. Folders bloomed across the screen. Protocol remediation. I felt the floor tilt. Inside, timelines, contingencies, emails stripped of salutations. Language cold enough to bruise. Legacy exposure. Reputational containment. Subject incapacitation, non-fatal. Subject, Rory said quietly. That's you. I scrolled. A payment ledger. Offshore. Shells inside shells. And then a thread marked blackmail, active. Attachments opened. Screenshots. Abigail's private messages. Client lists. A countdown. She'd been squeezed. A note in plain text, handle Cal. Or we handle you. I swallowed. She did the soup. Yes, Rory said. But she didn't start the fire. Another click. A second signature appeared in the workflow, older, cleaner, harder to trace. A master authorization that unlocked everything downstream. Martin Mercer. My father's digital hand. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Somewhere deep, something snapped, not loud, not clean. More like a cable fraying under load. He used her, I said. Rory nodded. As cover. Cut. A sound behind us. Soft. Rubber on concrete. I turned. A shape burst from the dark, masked, gloved hands, a baton humming blue. I shoved Rory aside. The taser cracked. Pain bit my shoulder like a live wire. I went down hard, breath gone. Rory screamed my name. I rolled, kicked, felt the baton skim my ribs. The attacker moved with training. Not personal. Efficient. Run. I shouted. Rory bolted with the drive. The attacker pivoted, mistake. I grabbed his ankle, yanked. He fell. The baton clattered. I crawled, lungs on fire, and slammed the emergency release on the fire door. Alarm screamed. Lights flared. The attacker vanished into the garage. Rory was waiting at the stairwell, pale, shaking. We didn't talk. We ran. Cut. The garage smelled like oil and rain. Our footsteps echoed. A car door slammed somewhere. Engine coughed. We split. I cut left, dove behind a concrete pillar. Headlights swept. Too close. My phone buzzed once in my pocket, then died. The car lurched forward. Tires shrieked. I bolted for the exit ramp, legs burning, vision tunneling. The gate arm was down. I vaulted, scraped my forearm, kept moving. I didn't stop until the street swallowed me. Cut. We regrouped at dawn in a borrowed office above a closed law clinic. Rory's arm was bandaged. My shoulder throbbed in time with my heart. We played the files again. Slower. Patterns emerged. The blackmailer wasn't random. The payments looped back through a lobbying firm I recognized from my work, Solstice Insight. They specialized in burying inconvenient truths under white papers and hearings that never happened. And the historic document I'd been restoring, the one with Mercer fingerprints all over a constitutional draft? It was listed as exposure vector alpha. Rory leaned back. Your father didn't want you dead. No, I said. He wanted me uncredible. She nodded. If they can label you unstable, everything you touch becomes suspect. I thought of the surgery. The consent. The POA. The soup. A philosophy I once believed cracked in my mouth. Power doesn't shout, it edits. Cut. My phone came back to life at 9:17 a.m. One message. Abigail, we need to talk. Alone. I stared at the screen. Rory watched me, face unreadable. Meet, she said, then added, but not where she wants. And not without a recorder. We chose a public place. A ballroom at a charity breakfast, cameras, donors, noise. Safety in numbers. Or the illusion of it. Abigail arrived late. Sunglasses. Hands shaking. She didn't hug me. They told me it would scare you, she whispered, too fast. They said you'd back off. That you'd stop digging. Who? I asked. She glanced around. The room clinked with china. Applause rose for a speech on transparency. Dad, she said. And people who own his silence. Her voice broke. I didn't know about the POA. I didn't know about the surgery. I swear. I believed she believed that. A line I once heard floated up, unwanted, when you borrow someone else's evil, it still charges interest. Cut. Police entered the ballroom. Uniforms. Plainclothes. Eyes scanning. A hand brushed my elbow. Mr. Mercer, a voice said. We need you to come with us. There's been a report. Abigail stiffened. Rory appeared at my side, already speaking. On what grounds? Unauthorized access, the officer said. And attempted data theft. I looked at Abigail. At the cameras. At the donors clapping for honesty. I smiled, thin. Because now I understood. This wasn't about saving Abigail's career. It was about erasing everything tied to me, including the truth. The holding room smelled like bleach and old coffee. No windows. One table. 2 chairs. The kind of room where time gets edited. Rory sat across from me, jacket draped over the chair, phone face down. The door clicked. Locked. They want to scare you, she said. Pressure first. Charges later. I nodded. My hands were steady. That scared me more than the cuffs had. A detective entered. Gray suit. No tie. Eyes trained to look past faces and into habits. Unauthorized access, he said. Data theft. Possible coordination. I leaned back. You forgot attempted medical coercion. He didn't smile. You have proof? Rory slid the drive across the table. We have timelines, witnesses, and a pattern. The detective glanced at it, then at me. Patterns get messy. So do lies, I said. They leave fingerprints. Cut. They released me pending review. That was the tell. If they had me, they'd keep me. They didn't. Outside, rain hammered the street. Sirens stitched the night together. Rory's phone buzzed. She listened. Paled. Rafe Halston, she said. Chef. The one your sister leaned on. My jaw tightened. What about him? He's missing. And someone just wiped his accounts. The pieces shifted. The board tilted. Cut. Abigail met me in a parking garage under the Kennedy Center. Lights flickered. The river breathed dark. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, hands trembling. "They told me it was a compliance thing." A pause. "A reset." "A reset is what you do to a device," I said. "Not a person." She cried. Real tears. That hurt worse. "They monitored me," she whispered. "Every call. Every draft. They said if I didn't play along, they'd leak everything. Clients. Messages. The soup," she choked. "The soup was supposed to make you back off. Not die." I finished. She nodded. I remembered a line I once believed: people don't fall all at once. They step down a staircase they didn't build. She'd stepped. My father had poured the concrete. Cut. Rory interrupted. "We've got movement." She showed me her screen. A shell firm transferring funds. Solstice Insight. A surge. Then a blackout. "They're closing the door," she said. "Now." "Then we open a window," I said. Cut. The plan was ugly. Simple. Public. I took the document, the one with Mercer fingerprints embedded in its margins, and prepped the release. University archive. Redundant mirrors. A checksum trail that would scream if altered. Rory shook her head. "Once it's out, there's no walking back." "I know," I said. "Truth doesn't do mercy." Cut. Night fell hard. The city slicked itself with rain. I drove toward the Library of Congress, heart ticking loud, mirrors full of headlights that didn't feel accidental. A black SUV eased in behind me. Too close. Then another. My phone rang. Unknown. I didn't answer. The first SUV nudged my bumper. The second boxed me in. I swerved. Tires screamed. The world narrowed to light and water and choice. A thought cut through the noise: you don't outrun power. You outlast it. I took a side street. Pedal down. The SUV clipped my rear quarter. Metal shrieked. I spun, slammed a curb, airbag punched my chest. I crawled out, bleeding, rain cold as needles. Siren somewhere. The SUVs vanished. Cowards. My phone was cracked but alive. I ran. Cut. Inside the library, the marble echoed my footsteps like a warning. Security shouted. I didn't stop. I ducked behind a column, fingers flying. Hotspot on. Upload initiated. Progress bar crawled. A guard lunged. I shoved, slipped, tasted blood. 70%. A line I'd once scribbled in a margin came back to me. Courage is doing the math and choosing anyway. 90. Hands grabbed me. Cuffs snapped. The bar hit green. Complete. They dragged me outside. Rain washed the blood down the steps. Cameras blinked awake. You're under arrest, the officer said. I looked at him. At the lens. At the night. You can put me in a cage, I said, voice steady, but the truth's already out. Federal hearings weren't designed for drama. But when the first document hit the projector, an internal memo signed off by Mercer Holdings, detailing experimental data access without medical consent, you could feel the temperature in the room change. A senator leaned forward. You're telling us this began with a bowl of soup? I nodded. Laced with crab. I'm severely allergic. My sister handed it to me, laughing. Said it was vegan. Gasps. Cameras zoomed in. Cut. Abigail sat 3 rows behind. Eyes red. Silent. Our father, Barrett Mercer, was absent. Health reasons, the spokesperson claimed. No surprise, he always ran from accountability in tailored suits and veiled threats. Rory leaned toward me. Solstice Insights board just resigned. Stocks plummeting. My stomach didn't twist. Not anymore. When someone tries to bury you alive, you learn to breathe dirt before you learn to breathe air again. Cut. Outside, reporters circled. Microphones flew. What do you want from all this? One shouted. Justice, I said. Not revenge. There's a difference. Revenge is selfish. Justice repairs. Cut. The civil lawsuits came next. Depositions. Freezers full of digital evidence. A class action began forming, dozens of patients treated like product testers. Their files accessed, lives adjusted, outcomes predicted and controlled. And I found a small apartment in Alexandria. Lived quietly. Taught data ethics at night. Spoke at one high school. Then another. Some wounds don't close. But they stop bleeding. Cut. 3 months later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo. Me at 6. Standing next to my mother. Smiling like I trusted the world. Behind us? Barrett. One hand on my shoulder. The other. Reaching into her coat pocket. A whisper of a signature at the back, for what you never knew. I stared at it for hours. Then burned it. Not every answer deserves a home. Cut. Abigail called once. From somewhere humid. I didn't know everything, she said. But you knew enough, I answered. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. I didn't say it back. Forgiveness is earned. Not begged. Cut. A journalist tracked me down outside a bookstore. What would you tell people now? He asked. The ones still scared. Still trapped in families like yours? I looked him dead in the eye. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not wrong for noticing the cracks in the foundation. Some houses need to burn before anyone smells the rot. He blinked. That's dark. No, I said. That's honest. Cut. Spring arrived without permission. Dogwood trees bloomed overnight. Light returned to corners I forgot existed. I walked through a market. No eyes followed. No calls chased. Just air, real and sharp. An old woman handed me a tulip. New beginnings, she said. I smiled. Sometimes, all it takes to reclaim your story is to stop letting others edit it. So I wrote. And this time, every word belonged to me.